All right. So let's get right to it, because I'm sure y'all tired of hearing me talking. I'm tired as well. So I'm going to call to the stage the first set of panelists. We're going to talk about the state of the Atlanta Black Tech K-12. Y'all can go and come to the stage. Computer science and gaming community. So Bryan, Jaycee, Andrea, Kristina, and Chris. Give it up for them, y'all. All right. So we're gonna really get right into it. So first, let's do the super short intros, and let me preface this. I know y'all in education. I know y'all like to speak, but let's just you got time to get to the rest of the stuff you're doing. Let's do the 1-2 sentence intros, name, company, role, and the 1 or 2 sentence description of your organization. We'll go from Jaycee all the way down.
Now, Joey, I did bring my whole CV. So you're telling me I can't do it? Okay.
I feel you.
Hi, y'all. My name is Jaycee Holmes. I'm a professor at Spelman College. I'm also a Spelman alumna. So shout out to my HBCUs out there, my Spelman sisters. At Spelman, I co-direct the Spelman Innovation Lab. That's our on-campus makerspace, where if a student has an idea, they make it a reality in our lab. I'm also the co-founder of Codehouse, a 501c3 nonprofit that gets students of color into tech.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kristina Newton. I am the founder. Hey, I got a shout out, all right. I'm also an HBCU alum, but I am the founder and executive director at Hype. I am a software engineer by trade, but Hype is building the largest pipeline of Black women in tech talent from K-12 to the tech workforce space.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Andrea Miller, and I am, shout out, hey. And I am the STEAM instructional coach in Atlanta Public Schools. I work at South Atlanta High School, and I'm also a private STEAM consultant focusing on diversifying our STEM pipelines for STEM careers.
That's a lot. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bryan Cox. I am at the Constellation Center for Equity and Computing at Georgia Tech. And I guess we are focusing on framing the conversation in regards to equity and ethics in AI and all aspects of technology. So.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peay. I'm the co-founder and chief marketing officer of a company called Cxmmunity Media. Our claim to fame is that we launched the first ever competitive esports league for HBCUs and HBCU students called the HBCU Esports League. To date, we've been able to provide over $2 million to HBCUs and HBCU students from competitive video game play opportunities, and that's in the form of scholarships as well as esports and innovation lab build-outs on campus.
Awesome. Okay, so Bryan, I want to start with you. So we're going to start from the younger folks and work our way up. No. When I say younger, not on the panel. I mean like the younger folks and like the students and stuff like that.
Got that.
I'm sorry. Okay, so what are you working on? What are you excited about for this year? What are you seeing in your space?
One, we're working on AI, which is everybody's focus, right? But not AI from the point of how to use it, but how it can be abused and misused, and how that's going to impact the communities around us. So we want to kind of work with the K-12 folks. So, and let me take a step back. AI literacy for everybody in the K-12 space. So all the students are going to be involved and engaged in this space. They need to be at the table. They need to be informed. So that's one of the things that we're talking about. We focus on computer science largely, but this year is going to be our year of AI.
Nice. Andrea, I want to go to you next. What about you? What are you working on right now? What are you seeing?
So I work in a public school. So what keeps me up at night is making sure that our students leave with a basic STEM literacy that can allow for them to function in today's world. Whether that means that it helps them to enter a STEM career and successfully maintain and survive and thrive there, or if later on they need to pivot into a STEM career. That is what I'm focused on right now.
There it is. There it is. And then we'll go Kristina, we'll go Jaycee, and then Chris, we'll go to you.
So I mentioned that we, are building the largest pipeline of Black women in tech talent. And so for the past 3 years, we've really been focusing on the talent, our students, and, had a mission to empower 2,500 girls. And by the end of 2023, excited to say we have reached that. So, we are today, 2,700 plus strong. And so while we definitely want to continue supporting our students, what we're looking at now is really fortifying that pipeline and empowering school teachers, empowering community leaders so that they can be an extension of us and the work that we do, as well as supporting our alumni as they are going into college and going into career.
Yeah, nice. Jaycee?
Okay. On the Codehouse front, in the past few years, we've raised over $4 million to support students of color at HBCUs getting into computer science. We're hoping to continue that in 2024. But when I think about how we're preparing our students as they enter the workforce, it's no longer just about tech literacy. When I think about where our students are going and what they're interested in and what they're excited about. Our students don't want to work on data structures and algorithms all the time. They don't want to work on linked lists. But that's not to say that they're not interested in computer science or technology. They're interested in the application of it. So when you have things like ChatGPT that come out that can handle some low-level code, we get to talk to the students about what are we building, what are we doing. And so in my lab and at Codehouse, we're focusing on entrepreneurship, we're focusing on application, we're focusing on building out specialties and ways in which they can build things in tech, whether that's in mixed reality, artificial intelligence, or in game development. Something else that our lab is working on is the second annual HBCU Game Jam. So last year we had the first of its kind. We had 150 students come down from 14 HBCUs here in Atlanta and compete in a weekend-long hackathon, and we're getting ready for round 2, and we're hoping to do more things like that to bring out the creative side of tech.
Nice. Chris, what are y'all working on?
So ultimately we got started on one stat that said 83% of African American youth played video games on a daily basis, but then looking at the workforce, there's only 4% of African Americans that work within the space. And so for us, building community was the first and foremost. So I think this year, what we want to do is continue to just go further and continue to build community. Our goal for this year is to build the largest hub for gamers worldwide. And that doesn't stop at just video game play. That also starts and stops with equitable opportunities for students of color in the space. And so I think just partnering with groups like Codehouse, like Hype, and more to be able to build that out, just to make sure that we're continuously represented, and that 4% can increase all the way up to 80.
Okay, nice. So yeah, give it up. The next part of the conversation, let's talk about the strengths of what you all see around Black tech students, either or K-12 or college, in your respective spaces. Chris, I'll start with you. Just know that the second part of this, we're going to start to go into threats, but right now we're just going to spend a few minutes, 5 or 10, talking about the strengths of our folks. Let you chew on that for a second. Who here has a child, a niece, a nephew, a cousin, a neighbor in Metro Atlanta that are either in CS or you want them to become in the gaming or tech space anywhere? Raise your hand. Anybody got any kids you want to? Okay, kids, niece, nephews. Okay, I thought we would see a little bit more of that. Okay. We got some work to do. Because all these folks in tech, I would expect that some young person that will want to get into the tech space in one way, shape, or form. So Chris, let's talk about strengths. Where do you, for Atlanta Black tech students, both K-12 and or college, as it relates to esports, tell us about the strengths there of that community.
I think one of the biggest strength is, I think just the mindset of the students, that students specifically that we've talked to, right? So I think students nowadays want more practical solutions. I think they're tired of the traditional education system. I say it all the time, I'll probably get flack for it, but I think with the exception of the law and the medical field, the education system as it stands today is pretty much outdated. And so I think it takes groups and organizations like a Codehouse, like a Hype, like a community to be able to get those practical solutions. I've been a parent for a year, and it doesn't take me being a parent for a year to know that probably 90% of my child's education is on me. And so as we know, the education system is a fight on its own. And so I think just partnering with more groups outside of that, I can't wait to get into it, right? My son is only 1, but from what I know, like Hype, like Codehouse, like the rest of these organizations, those are pretty much what we're looking to do. And I think as we start to see more students that are involved in these things. Historically, me personally, I was not involved in those things, and so just to see students that are, for me, is very impressive. And I think we just want to continue to hone in on those students and those parents that have those interests, so that we can continue to see them grow. So that I think it fuels all of our goals.
There it is. Bryan, I want to go next to you. Like, what do you see as the strengths of Black tech students in Metro Atlanta? Not the city, but Metro Atlanta as it relates to computer science and the work that you do.
All right, so in addition to being at Georgia Tech, I've also most recently worked at the Department of Education. So I have a bit of a different perspective. Strengths, we have a lot more access than we've had in the past, right? I don't know if you guys know, but we have a new legislation that finalizes next year that requires all middle schools and high schools in the state of Georgia to offer computer science, right? So if your students want to take computer science, they can, right? It's there. So we have a lot more access. And in addition to that, it's not just in the school systems. Like, I've worked with everybody up here on the stage before. I've worked with Cxmmunity, I've worked with Hype, I've worked with Codehouse, and the school system is already, we see each other on a regular basis. So there's a lot more opportunity there. If you look at the people that are teaching computer science in Atlanta, it's largely Black women. Right? If you look at the people that are teaching in the Atlanta school systems, it's largely Black women. That's impressive. That's tremendous. They get to see somebody that they can relate to that's knowledgeable about this tech stuff and is doing it and is doing a good job at it, right? So that's a huge strength. So I think we have a lot to be proud of the work that we've done, the work that you all have done so far. So those are the strengths I see.
There it is. And Andrea, you in the streets. You are there with these students, right? You are there I'm assuming it's every single day. I've witnessed it, right? And so, by the way, if you don't know who Andrea is, please give her flowers, because she is just absolutely amazing what she does with these young folks.
Thank you.
So I know, you could probably talk about threats, but right now we're going to talk about the strengths. What do you see in these young folks?
I would say as strengths, well, first and foremost, big up to you and a lot of your efforts, because everybody that's on this stage, I remember when all of these efforts were just conversations and they were just starting, but he put together that K-12 tech talent. And as I look into the audience, a lot of the members of that cohort, their organizations have grown. I remember when Kristina walked into South Atlanta, she didn't even have Hype yet. And so to not only see those organizations grow, that means that our students, my students that I see every day, have more opportunities, but to know that our school and other schools in Atlanta, public schools and other surrounding districts, have been part of their growth, and they have been part of giving back to that community. So I do think that that was a strength. I also think that the interest from the students are there. The interest is high, the interest is there. Now, they are Gen Z, so the interest is fleeting, but the interest is there. And so I count that as a strength. And then lastly, I would say the efforts of people like Bryan Cox at the Georgia Department of Education have helped that conversation within the schools to know we have a Senate bill. So there is a deadline by which we have to offer these things in the school building, is what I would say are the strengths.
Nice. Kristina, what about you?
Yes. So I would say that one of the strengths that I see is kind of what we even see represented here, being in Atlanta and working with students in Atlanta. The reason why the interest is there is because we make it look cool. And I think that that's like a strength, is helping like our students understand the different applications of computer science, where they're not assuming that it's only sitting at a desk in front of a black screen with green letters, writing algorithms. They get a chance to see and hear and touch for themselves what it could be. And so like that exposure right in their backyard, I think is a strength that we have here and that we can provide to the students that we serve.
Nice.
So at Spelman, I teach a class called creative coding. Keyword there being creative, because this is a class that is required for every student in the Division of the Arts. Think intro to CS class, but for artists and creatives. And this is the first semester, last semester, where I asked students, had anyone here coded before? And about 3/4 of the class raised their hand. which is incredible because these are art majors. These are creatives, students who told me they hate math. They don't want to touch technology that changed after my class, but this is what they were walking into, and they had touched it before. And I think that's evident of the work of the people that you see on this panel in our K-12 schools, the nonprofits that are out there, the researchers and policymakers that are changing things for the better for Black students. And that gives me a lot of excitement. Additionally, I teach a class called User Experience Design. In that class, mostly CS majors, because they know that they need to not just learn technical literacy, but they need to make themselves competitive. And so it's encouraging for me to see their attitude, their mindset, and their interest in this field. I would say interest absolutely, but their creativity as well. I mean, this is the generation that grew up with TikTok and cell phones, and their creativity is just astounding to me, and I'm so excited to see what they come up with every day. And that gives me hope. Yeah.
There it is. There it is. Amazing. Give it up. Give it up. Okay. Let's turn the page a little bit. Let's turn the page a bit because again, we want to get better. Let's talk about some threats. And if we're gonna get better, we have to address threats, right? That's why we do this thing at the top of the year so we can head it off at the pass to the best of our ability. Andrea, I'm coming to you first because I'm sure you got stuff to say. Don't get fired, as I'm gonna say first. Don't say anything that's gonna get you fired because it's not gonna be my fault.
Right.
Just gonna say that. But if you had any threats that you can, as it relates to computer science and STEM and stuff like that for students that you see, what would it be?
So, two things I want to highlight for you. There is a measurement called a College and Career Readiness Performance Index, okay? CCRPI. Essentially, for people who are not familiar with that, it's really a grade that every school and every district gets, and it's supposed to convey if we're preparing students for college and career. If you go online and look at that particular index and look at all of the components, you're gonna see a lot of data, and none of it has to do with computer science. Okay? I'm not saying the data that's being measured is not good data to measure, like attendance, or whether or not students are excelling in Algebra 1 or in biology. But if in the year of our Lord 2024, we know that computer science and all the things that fall underneath it, like artificial intelligence, are important, and that's not part of the metrics of what makes somebody college and career ready, what happens in the education system is that every day when people like myself walk into a school or into the district, there are competing priorities. And computer science is not really on the list because people are going to prioritize how they are going to be evaluated. And the data that is measured is going to be the data that's going to be managed. So if computer science isn't on the list, it's not really being managed. So I'm very grateful for that Senate bill that says we have to offer computer science, but if there's no measurement that's actually saying how many Black students, how many white students, how many low socioeconomic students, and all, it's obsessive with data, but at times we're obsessed with the wrong data, or if not the wrong data, not the data that's gonna move the needle. So that is a threat. Because you can be fooled into thinking that you're really doing something because you're busy and you're doing a lot, but you're measuring the wrong things. And so I see that as a very large threat. So we could offer computer science, and the next 3 schools can offer computer science, but my computer science class has 15 kids that are all classified as gifted, and the other one has 30 kids, and the next school has everybody. But it's not what's being measured. That makes sense?
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
Give it up. So Bryan, I want to come to you next, but I think the job that we can do as a community is hold our folks accountable to getting the right data to measure. Bryan, is there anything you want to follow up or just maybe additional or another point around any threats?
Oh, definitely. So thank you, right? Because that doesn't get said a lot. Access, we have. And we're doing a really, really good job with access. Participation, we're not doing a great job with, right? So what keeps me up at night, and this has been the thing that has been driving me for the past few years, is that Every year we graduate a high school class of students, and less than 10% of them have had computer science education, right? We have all this access. Like right now, if your student wants to take computer science at their school, they can. And if they can't, let me know and I can make it happen in a week, right? Because they have access. But if you go and look in the computer science classrooms, it still looks like the tech space. It still looks white and Asian male, right? It still looks that way because our students aren't choosing computer science. They're still choosing, and I don't know if you guys saw the video that it circulated recently, but it's from like the 90s when he was saying it's still basketball and rap. Like that's still, you got 1 million black boys that want to go to the NBA when you got 20,000 open computing jobs in Georgia with average salaries of $80,000 and better, and they're not aspiring to that right now, right? So access is just step one. We need participation. We need all the students to it, and not just so they can get into the tech workforce, right? Because there's tech in every sector. You don't have to be tech to go into the entertainment industry, but it helps. You don't need to be tech to go into law, but it helps. You don't need to be tech to go into sports, but it helps, right? So that's a threat, is that we're not engaging, and we're graduating class after class that are unprepared to participate in a digital society. So that's a threat for me.
Nice. Give it up. Kristina, and then we'll go to Jaycee, and then Chris will weigh in with you.
Yeah. So I think that the same thing that I consider to be our strength could also be a threat in making tech a vibe. It's so vibey. And it's almost like too cool and too easy. Or it's portrayed as being so cool and so easy. And a threat that I see constantly is similar to the get rich quick scheme of, I can go from not being able to read to being a tech entrepreneur in 10 days. That's the message. That's the message, everyone can do it. Go online and get a certificate in 10 days, and now you can start your own company. And that's what we're playing to what students want to hear versus what they need to hear. And we're not taking the time to really mentor, help them understand about discipline, help them understand why you might need to work underneath someone before you start your own business. And these are some of the skills that our young people are missing because they are we show them so much how cool and quote unquote easy it is. And I think that can be a threat because I feel like our community is probably one of the only communities that's saying that. You won't hear other communities and families saying, oh, you don't have to go to college or you can take the easy way out. They're telling their kids that they have to work hard and we're not. And so I think that that's one of the threats that we have that I would love to see us really kind of get over and do the work that is required to be successful in a tech career.
Amen. Jaycee?
I'm going to second what I just heard. One, we need participation, right? And I think there's a lot of opportunities where a student will see, and this is one of the most powerful things that you can do for a student, they will see a possibility model. They'll see somebody who is thriving in their career in tech, who has made it as an engineer or as a product manager, and that will be the goal for them. But then when it comes time to do the actual work, when it's time to have that discipline, when it's time to, tackle those difficult problems, that person's gone, right? They come in so briefly, and they need more support. They need more role models that are there for the day-to-day, and that comes down to supporting your teachers. We need to support our K-12 teachers. We need to pay them. We need to support them in any way that we can, but that also works in the college space as well. So when it comes down to it, it comes down to fundraising and getting more role models in front of these students, not just for a one-time thing, but for the day-to-day. I don't know, when I think about when I was graduating, all of the HBCU classmates that I had that went into tech, they went straight to companies, right? They didn't think about turning around and becoming an educator or professor because that wasn't going to pay any student loans that they had, right? And so we need to change this system. We've heard this 1,000 times before, but I'm going to keep saying it because the system needs to change so that people will come back and teach and be there for these students, because that possibility model, that role model, if they're there day to day, that's what's going to guarantee that student gets through.
Nice. So let's go over to esports. So Chris, What's some of the threats do you see as it relates to black students in Atlanta as it relates to esports?
Yeah, I think if I can piggyback off of Dr. Cox and Andrea, and I hope y'all don't hate me, but I think, again, going back to the education system, right? So it's solely, or not solely, but for the most part, it's built off of memorization. I think education built off of memorization should probably be eliminated sometime soon and go more towards, like I said earlier, the application. Because I think the biggest thing that we're teaching, like 90% of us, right? If we reach in our pockets right now, we'll pull out a computer. And like, information isn't necessarily like the thing anymore. I think information is a commodity. We all have access to it. I think when we look at tech, right, it's like, what are you doing in the schools, and then what and how and who are teaching the students how to use the technology, going back to your earlier point. Because the tech exists, we have access to it. It's just a matter of, are we using it and are we using it properly? And I think that's the biggest threat. I think it's a thing of information being the thing, like, we don't need to remember certain things. I think we can just type on our computer and find it out. But when it comes to the important things, I think as long as we know how to apply them, and we know why we're applying them, I think that that's the most important thing, and that is the threat, in my personal opinion.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk as we conclude this particular panel. Let's talk about kind of solutions and things you're working on. More importantly, I want to figure out ways that people can plug into your efforts. So, Andrea, I want to start with you. How can people support you and the other folks in APS that do similar things to what you're doing?
So what I would say is the opportunities that people such as myself that we're looking for are opportunities that really will convert. So if you're thinking about sales, like, you can advertise all you want to someone, but it doesn't convert until they buy it, right? We need opportunities where we have we can really tell that at the end of this experience, students are going to know something more and be able to do something more than they did when they encountered it. And sometimes those opportunities are not the large things, sometimes it's smaller, okay? But it's those opportunities where students have repeated opportunities to engage. A lot of the one-time sort of events, it's not sticky enough, not for Gen Z, okay? They have to see things over and over again and get a buy-in for it. Because the minute they leave that one-time opportunity, they're thinking about lunch. They're not thinking about anything else. So those are the kind of opportunities I'm looking for, are opportunities that convert, opportunities that happen during the school year and during the school day. For many of the students that we want to serve and some of our most under-resourced students, during the day is the only time I can guarantee that I know where they are. And it's hard enough to get them there. But I know where they are, and I can help get them in front of you. So those are the opportunities that that we're really looking for. And the last thing I'll say really briefly is this. I had a conversation with someone the other day, and they're a therapist by trade, and they were just telling me that their professor told them that if they don't continue to get therapy themselves, their stuff is going to come walking through the door in the form of a patient. Gen Z is our stuff, okay? Anything that we saw that was wrong with this system before, that's the generation that's going to force our hand, because disruption can no longer be an option. It is a must. Everyone up here mentioned that the school system has to change. They're absolutely correct. And this is going to be the generation that's going to force us, because everything that we may have thought of not doing, but we were like, we'll thug it out. Oh, they're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. So become an expert in this generation. They have a lot to offer, but we have to figure out how they function best. Okay.
Nice. Bryan, how can we support you? How can we plug in?
Multi-level advocacy, right? So you have to be an advocate at every level and in every instance of your day. There are some states, and Georgia is having this conversation right now, so if you hear about it, support it, that are talking about computer science as a requirement for graduation, right? That way everybody participates because they have to, and now the principals in the schools are paying attention to it as much as they're paying attention to English and math, right? When we talk about literacy, literacy is something that either makes it where you can participate in society or not, right? And if you have computer literacy, then you'll be able to participate in society. If you don't have it, then you will be on the outside looking in. And if it's a literacy, which we all assume that computing is a literacy now, then everybody needs it. Not 10%, definitely not 5%, and not just that group of people over there, right? Everybody needs it. So advocating at the highest levels to make sure that everybody gets it. Advocating at your schools to make sure that it's available to your children and that they're involved in that classes. A lot of times schools are schedule a student out of a computer science class so that they can get extra help in this math class, or so they can participate in PE, or so they can do these other things over here, right? So they're not taking the computer science class. Advocate at your school level. Advocate in your home, right? And when your students come home and they're like, yo, I'm just gonna play on this game. Like, you gonna play on this game? All right, well, you know, there's a competition for that, right? You can actually take that gaming and do something with it, right? Or if you're going to play on the game, why don't you learn how to build that game, right? Let me advocate for you doing something more than just hanging out and chilling on the couch, right? So multi-level advocacy. And if you really need some help, holler at me. I got a million ideas a day about how we can break these chains.
Before we go to Kristina, what I'd like to see is everybody in this room, if you got kids if you live anywhere within on the 28, 30 county area, Metro Atlanta, you should be asking, you should be asking your kids' schools, what are they doing around CS and gaming, right? If you got a neighbor, you should be asking, and they got kids, you should be asking them to ask their people at those schools, what are they doing around CS and gaming. You got, again, nieces and nephews and stuff like that. Everybody should be holding these schools accountable for offering the courses that our young folks need in order to succeed in the future. And no one has set it up here directly, but I'm gonna draw the line to all the recent data on, well, not even recent, but the historical data around wealth and equality in this city, in this area, right? So hold these folks accountable for what they're offering or not. Kristina?
So I'll say three things. The first way that you could support is just, say our name in the spaces that you might exist in. If you are connected with the school, if you have young girls in your life, if you are connected to community leaders, let them know about HYPE. We are HYPE, HYPE, gethype.org. We are doing, I believe, really amazing work that I am extremely proud of, and work that our team is extremely passionate about. And so, I believe more people need to know about what we're doing, and we are trying to, get into more spaces as well. The second thing is we have a leadership academy where we are developing leaders. Our programs are multi-week, multi-month, multi-year long, and we're developing leaders, and our leadership academy scholars get an opportunity to spend a summer working with a company as a high school student and getting paid. And we will either pay them for you or we'll help you find the means to pay a high school intern. But in pouring into our high school students and mentoring them, we're always looking for small businesses, startups, other nonprofits who could utilize the capacity building that a high school intern can give. If you need an intern, we got you. And so I think that's another way that you could plug in is by tapping into our talent pipeline. And then the third way is by sponsoring a student to go through our program. Our program is completely free. We have a 12-week computing program for girls that can be sponsored for as little as $38 a month. We have a year-long program for girls to go through that can be sponsored for as little as $75 a month. And so the more individual sponsors that we get, the more individual students that we can touch.
There it is. There it is.
When I think about how you can support the nonprofits, exactly what you said, talk about us, figure out what is the list of nonprofits that you know that are working in the tech space. You got Cxmmunity, you got HYPE, and you've got Codehouse right here, but there are so many other ones. Which ones do you know? Which ones are you connected to? Do you have any opportunities? Are there anybody or anything that you should be connecting us to? Then it comes back to multi-level advocacy, right? Additionally, if you are part of a school district, if you have kids in a school district, talking to those teachers. If you're not part of a school district, is there a way that your company can get involved? When we talk about multi-level advocacy, thinking about, yes, not only can you do what you can do in your home, at your school district, but also what you can do with your business. Can you connect your business, whether you are the entrepreneur behind it or if you work for a company, can you connect that company to a nonprofit that's doing this work, to a school district that's doing this work, to better strengthen this ecosystem?
Nice. And Chris?
I think, again, like, there's 83% of black youth. It's a lot of black people in here. Golly, I love this. And only 4% of us work within the space. And so, again, like, our biggest goal is to create more black video game developers. Probably, I would say maybe 70% of our youth that's in this room play video games when we saw the hands. And so just, again, multi-level advocacy. We work with a lot of some of like the largest brands in the world, and something that we always tell them is like, yeah, you're gonna give us something, but we're gonna give you something, but you're also gonna give us something. And the money, it doesn't stop at the money. It's equitable opportunities. And so every single brand that we've ever partnered with have always offered internship opportunities for our students. And a lot of times we find ourselves with more opportunities than we find students. And so again, multi-level advocacy, working with a lot of the organizations, I guess figuring out how we can have a conversation to be able to get kids into some of our programming, some of the Codehouse, some of the hypes of the world. And yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. I think just spreading the word is like really the biggest thing for us.
Awesome. Well, as we conclude, Chris, we'll start with you and go all the way down. How can people get in contact with you?
So you can follow us, social media, Cxmmunity.co. Our website is community media, Cxmmunity. It's community without the O, just put an X, media.co.
There it is, right.
You can email me at bcox67@georgiatech.edu. I would also recommend that you join cs4ga.org, right? That's a organization where we can get together, put together work groups, and do a lot of the good work that we need to do as a community. So, yeah.
Can you say that website one more time?
cs4georgia.org.
There it is.
Number 4GA, cs4ga.org.
There it is.
bcox67@georgiatech, GATECH.edu.
There it is.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think the best way to get in contact with me, honestly, is through LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I am on the gram. The kids require that. But my name is @Andrea P. Mills, because that's what they call me. But my email address is for the district is P as in Paul Miller @atlanta.k12.ga.us. I'll say it one more time. P as in Paul Miller @atlanta.k12.ga.us.
Oh, somebody got to fix this. Jeez.
One of the many things that do not make sense.
I've been fighting with that for years.
You can find out more about Hype at our website, gethype.org. So that's GETHYPE.org. I'm also on LinkedIn at Kristina Newton, and you can also email me directly at Kristina with a K, so that's KRISTINA @gethype.org. Email address is Kristina@gethype.org.
Okay. If you're interested in our upcoming HBCU Game Jam, which is going to take place in April of this year, it is at Spelman IL. I think I said that right. I look at my assistant director in the background. That was right? At Spelman IL on Instagram. Just send us a DM and we can get you involved if you want to be a judge, a representative, or a volunteer. And if you want to learn more about what we're doing at Codehouse with our Scholars Initiative, we have about 100 scholars across 5 HBCUs, and we give out $20,000 in scholarships. That is at Codehouse.org. Codehouse, CODEHOUSEORG on Instagram.
Well, give it up for our awesome people taking care of our young folks. Well, I guess I jumped the gun. Uh-oh. I think the mic's...
Hello.
Gone. There we go.
Hello. Sorry, don't cut me off. One more thing I gotta do this plug. Sorry. We have our spring cohort that is starting on January 23rd for girls. Again, it's completely free for anyone to join. So if you have young people young women in your life, middle school or high school, who are looking for a program to learn how to code, they can apply. You can find the application at gethype.org. Application closes on January 16th. I have a little bit of pull, so I might be able to extend it some, but it starts on January 23rd.
There it is. Give it up for them. If we can y'all stand, we get a photo of everybody. Awesome. So again, these folks represent. Y'all can get up for a picture. I'm kind of good to get up for a picture as I talk. So yes, so they represent some of the people that are teaching our young folks and getting them in the tech startup space, right? Getting them in the tech startup space. This is not all. In Atlanta, we are blessed with a lot of leaders who are doing a lot of amazing things. These are just some of them, right? And so again, they shared how they need help. We want to activate everybody in the room and your network to support them and the people like them that are doing this work, because they are training the future, right? They are training the future. Give up for them one more time.